Hello. Our group will be presenting on the topic of reading and writing literary assessments.
Reading requires a fluent coordination of increasingly automatic skills and also deliberate strategies. The text explains that reading is a cognitive activity, which means it takes effort. It is important that students become fluent readers so that their cognitive resources can be used for comprehension. Assessing these 5 components enables teachers to monitor progress, plan instruction, and intervene accordingly. The following are 3 types of reading assessments. Reading inventories consist of graded word lists to assess sight vocab knowledge and students' ability to decode words. They also consist of graded reading passages that are followed by comprehension questions. Reading inventories inform teachers of a student's independent, instructional, and frustration reading levels. Curriculum-based assessments, or CBMs, are standardized procedures which inform teachers of student achievement in the current curriculum. The data from CBMs enable teachers to monitor student progress. Reading CBMs assess fluency and comprehension. Performance assessments evaluate student skill in the context of a purposeful, authentic task. Students may be asked to read a passage, then respond to a prompt. The response demonstrates to the teacher their mastery of skills. When assessing writing, teachers consider the following 6 traits: ideas and content, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, conventions, and recently presentation was added to the list of writing traits. The steps of the writing process include pre-planning before beginning to write, writing drafts, revising and editing work, proofreading, and sharing the final product. Students are assessed on their skills in executing these steps. Assessing writing also focuses on spelling and handwriting. The following are 3 types of writing assessments. An error pattern analysis is a systematic review of mistakes in students' written products. Error pattern analyses help to identify patterns and errors, therefore informing instruction and intervention moving forward. Teachers can analyze errors in passages written by students, errors in spelling, and handwriting errors. Portfolio assessments assess an authentic collection of student work over time. Portfolio assessments are a holistic approach because they focus on the process of learning. Portfolio assessments enable special educators to communicate with various stakeholders regarding the student's progress. One method of scoring written products is the anchor paper scoring method. Teachers compare students' papers and then select anchor papers based on levels of proficiency, ranging from above average, average, and below average. Teachers then score papers based on these anchors. This method is useful for screening purposes, but has its disadvantages as it does not provide an in-depth analysis. The importance of literacy assessment is summed up well by this quote on page 245 in our textbooks. Reading disabilities are reported to be the main cause of failure in school. If the specific reading problem is not identified, appropriate remedial techniques are not employed and continual monitoring is not initiated. These deficient skills will not likely be ameliorated and long-term effects will likely evolve, end quote. The textbook also states that children who are poor readers early on are 3 times more likely to become unemployed adults, end quote. Data-based instruction supports students' literacy success and consequently overall life fulfillment.
Now let's look at and talk about how we as teachers could systematically identify and when to adjust instruction strategies and monitor the process for struggling students. Teacher plays a crucial role in comparing the effectiveness of different instructional strategies. Identifying students who are not making enough progress in a general education setting and who may need extra support in the classroom. Teachers are track process toward IEP goals for students receiving special education services. Also, they identify skills with which students are having the most difficulty. Then teacher will start to select measures for struggling students. Questions they would ask when they select the assessment. For example, does it align with the grade level rating scales? Is the measure reliable and valid? Does the measure have sufficient alternative versions? Teachers also have extra consideration when selecting measure for struggling students. For example, teacher could use chart reading fluency assessment to decide to move up or down to the grade level of the assessment. After that, teacher starts the general outcome measurement process. The first step is to create a graph. A graph offers educator a simple visual representation that can help them make quick instructional decisions. The vertical axis presents student performance on the general outcome measure, such as number of words read correctly. We can see the sample graph on the slide. The horizontal axis represents time, days, weeks. We could also use software to assess students' performance. It is also beneficial to invite students to participate in the process to look at their performance. Before creating a goal line, the current line of the student performance, we could use median score to create a start point. Then we could look at the benchmark. For example, a second grade student should read 100 words per minute correctly. This will be the goal point. And then we connect start point to the goal point. And then this will be the goal line. Will represent the student's expected average weekly rate of growth. After deciding measurement, teacher administer the assessments. We have already had a big picture about the rating assessment and writing assessment in previous slides. You can find more information talking about how to administer and score assessments on the textbook, Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. Teachers score assessment and collect data to make the graph. Graphing the data of struggling students is super beneficial to look at the gap between the benchmark and performance of the student. It could be an effective tool for noticing struggling student needs. We could compare and contrast the performance of these students and the different teaching strategies in order to know which could be more effective. Then, communicate process. After having the visual presentation of the student performance, teacher could easily share the performance with the student, parents, and other staff in IEP team. Here are more information on database instructional decision. We can use 6 data points to track a student long or short-term goal. We can also use the 4-point method. We put the 4 most recent data points on the graph to find out the relationship between the data and the goal line. After we have the visual representation of the data, and then the first possible situation if one of the points are higher than the goal line, the student performance exceeding expectations, and a slight more ambitious goal is needed, so we increase the goal. The second possibility is changing instruction. If most points are below the goal line, the student is not making progress. In this case, the teacher should try a different instructional approach and continue to collect data to see if the instructional change helps the student making the process. The third one, make no changes. If most points are around the goal line, the student is on target to see the year-end goal, and instruction method appear to be working. So no change to instruction are necessary at this point.
We will be taking a deep dive look into handwriting. Handwriting is a literacy skill that requires muscular control, hand-eye coordination, and visual discrimination. It is important that teachers observe these physical skills in their students before moving into handwriting instruction. Observable skills such as drawing and appropriately using scissors can inform teachers to whether or not students are ready for handwriting instruction. When teaching and assessing handwriting, teachers should focus on both speed and fluency. Some common errors that students make when partaking in handwriting units are incorrect letter formation and inadequate spacing of the letters, which both impact speed and fluency. This is a chart from our textbook on page 282, outlining a few of the items on the handwriting checklist, as mentioned on the previous slide. Teachers can use this checklist to ensure students are adequately prepared for instruction. Our deep dive case study surrounds a student named Alex. Alex is a fourth grader in an inclusive classroom. The teacher is always looking for new ways to assess students and ensure that they are in appropriate groupings based on their strengths and points of needed improvement. Alex loves to verbally tell stories and generally enjoys handwriting lessons. However, the teacher has found that Alex writes very slowly. The assessment that the teacher will be using is called a curriculum-based measurement handwriting probe. Because this type of assessment can be done quite often and rather quickly, the teacher chooses to assess some students, including Alex, once a week to track their progress and zero in on the setback. Pictured on this slide is the textbook example of what this probe may look like. The teacher will ask Alex to write lowercase b's for 1 minute to identify what Alex is struggling with, to inform further instruction, and to assess accuracy. This quick assessment shows the teacher that Alex's handwriting speed is due to his trouble with individual lowercase letter formation. Moving forward, the teacher will create lessons geared towards the foundations of letter formation. This will allow Alex to solidify his understanding of this skill, therefore eventually increasing his speed and enjoyment. Thank you.